Ready?
Aye. Are you feeling it?
Welcome, everyone, to the Monday, December 5th pre-council meeting. Bob Odekirk presiding.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Odekirk.
Here.
Councilwoman Hernandez Brewer.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Girl.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Here.
Councilman Turk.
Here.
Before the presentation this evening, I did have a request to move up the licenses and permit application. So if the liquor commissioner could approach.
Mayor, City Council. First one is Council Member Memo 560-16. A public hearing was held on October 19th, 2016 at 9 a.m. for a request for a new Class B liquor license. The requesting location is 235 North Chicago Street. The applicant is Joliet Junior College. Resident manager is Marsha McCormick. No persons appeared in opposition. The police, fire, building departments have no issues. The building and fire department have to do a final inspection at the completion of construction. Based on the facts and the facts in this hearing of the Liquor Commission is recommended for approval. Council Member 561-16. A public hearing was held on October 19th, 2016 at 9:30 a.m. for a request for a new Class B liquor license. The requesting location is at 3021 Theodore Street, Unit D. The applicant is Rita Sengowski, DBA Dealer's Choice. Resident manager is Elizabeth Cargill. No persons appeared in opposition. The police, fire, and building departments have no issues. Building and fire have to do a final inspection at the end of construction. Based on the facts and the facts of the hearing, the Liquor Commission is recommending approval. Finally, there's Council Member 562-16. A public hearing was held on October 19, 2016 at 10 a.m. The requesting location is 201 West Jefferson Street for a request of a new B liquor license. The applicant is Will Joliet Bicentennial Park, DBA Billy Limbacher Bicentennial Park and Theater. No persons appeared in opposition. There's no outstanding monies owed to the city. The police, fire, and building departments have no issues. Based on the facts and the facts of the hearing, the Liquor Commission is recommending approval.
Any questions?
Thank you.
First on the agenda is a presentation for the Joliet Media Campaign Update by the Heritage Corridor Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to give you an update about last summer's media campaign. And going to divide the time a little bit in the fact that I have Debbie Jo Erickson with me today, and she's going to give you an update about some of our Route 66 initiatives. So at your packet, or at your stations there, I'm just going to speak a little bit about the summer media campaign, which is this handout here. And just want to remind everyone that tourism expenditures in the state of Illinois travel and tourism visitors generate quite a bit of tax dollars for the local and state economy. And this little handout here provides you with some of those numbers for Will County. So Will County is the 4th largest in travel expenditures in the state. And so that's pretty significant. And obviously, if they're coming to Will County, they're probably coming through Joliet or touching Joliet with our crossroads of 80 and 55. So as you can see from our handout on the top, on the cover page, we did work with city officials and Joliet Slammers, and we did submit the bid for IHSA 3A and 4A state baseball championships to return to Joliet, and we did secure that bid. So IHSA, as you probably have already seen in the news, is going to be in Joliet for the next 5 years. So we want to highlight that on the cover of this sheet for all of you. And then if you flip to the inside, we call it an integrated cooperative marketing campaign. It's cooperative because we go out to some of the different partners in Joliet, the casinos, the downtown businesses, and some of the different attractions, and we ask them to invest in the campaign as well. So what the city of Joliet puts in, the Bureau puts in, and then we have different attractions that contribute to the campaign. And so the campaign partners are listed on the inside left panel, about halfway down. You'll see some of the partners with their logos there. And then it's integrated in the fact that we are doing not just television, but we're also doing print media. We're doing quite a bit of online. And then we supplement it or complement the media placements with events and supporting different Joliet area festivals and events. So Television ads, we had over 8,600 television commercials run. They were all 30-second spots. And about half of those, we did an overlay, which was it had a request for information, whereas you were watching Comcast, you could, from your remote, you could press that you wanted more information on that local area. And then from there, we were able to receive leads that we could then follow up and send them Joliet information. So about half of those spots had the RFI overlay, and it produced over 500 of requests for information leads. We did a partnership with WGN Radio. They actually came to Joliet and did an on-site promotion during Star Wars Day. And then we did some variety of Chicago radio spots, and then did a couple of their e-blasts for some of our Joliet area events. If you flip to the right-hand panel, you'll see some of the print. I did bring some copies of some of the print pieces. These are all extras, so I'll leave these with Krista if you want to look through any of those. So I brought some actual copies of the print. What I'm probably most proud of there is we worked with Chicago Magazine, and we did a 2-page feature spread in Chicago Magazine, and that went out to all of their subscribers, as well as we were able to complement it with some online digital support. And then West Suburban Living also did a Joliet feature. So we worked with the City of Joliet, the Downtown Group, and some others to highlight that for the City of Joliet. The bottom half of the right-hand panel are some digital updates, some Twitter, American Road, Facebook ads, and then some of the events that we were a part of where we promoted Joliet. On the back of the sheet, some of these are primarily Route 66 focused. Some of them are in language. The very top piece that you see there is America Journal. Those ads are actually translated in German. So we're trying to hit that German market and bring those German travelers to our Joliet region. And then you'll see some of the other Route 66 ads on there as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it, unless you have questions, I'm going to turn it over to Debbie Jo, and she's going to give you some more updates about Route 66.
Thank you, Bob. Mayor and council members and citizens, it's very nice to be here this evening. You have a handout in front of you. I had produced a PowerPoint, although because of time constraints, I understand that you have a long meeting, so we're going to forego with that. So just to give you a brief history here, Route 66 was a highway spawned with demands of rapidly changing America, and it symbolized a road to opportunity. Established in November 11th of 1926, so it just celebrated its 90th year. By the 1950s, a sponsorship for a divided interstate highway was implemented, and the last segment of Route 66 was bypassed in the 70s, leaving the lights of small-town business centers in the rearview mirrors. Officially decommissioned in June 25th of 1985, Route 66 has become an American icon, a special place where the American dream is made manifest. Parts of the charm of the Double Six is its kitschiness. Further on in the brochure that I gave you, the roadside attractions provide photo opportunities for the travelers, as well as enhancing the community's marketing tools as tourist destinations. Route 66 is the second largest tourist attraction in Illinois. And the the county of Will has 38 miles of Route 66. The Joliet Route 66 Welcome Center has greeted visitors from all 50 states and over 40 foreign countries. In that photograph, you'll see there as well, there's a gentleman in front of a Route 66 van for the Route 66 soda. And that is Zerdek. He is from the Czech Republic. I had the honor of meeting him in Germany this year. And that trip was his 23rd trip to the United States to solely travel Route 66, and this time he did it on a bicycle. In 2011, the Route 66 Economic Impact Study was conducted in conjunction with the World Monument Fund, and a conservative estimate of $38 million spent annually on Route 66 travel alone. Divide that by the over 2,400 miles, and that's just under $16,000 per mile. We need to preserve yesterday for tomorrow's generations. For instance, the Odell gas station, Odell, Illinois, the Rialto Theater, which brings in a lot of tourists, the Palms Cafe in Atlanta, which is the top 3 pictures in that demonstration that I gave you. When they restored the Palms Cafe in Atlantic, Illinois, Since that point, the city itself has received an additional 38% of income tax in sales per year. In the marketing brochure that's provided to you, giving you some numbers of some of the hashtags that are used currently in social media marketing. As you'll see, the Route 66 has over 1 million hashtags. Most of those numbers have come from Instagram because Facebook and Twitter don't give me the analytics for that. Additionally, with that marketing, you'll also see the bottom 3 pictures are of photographers and a film crew that were in town. Through the Heritage Quarter and myself, Bob was instrumental in bringing the PBS show Travels with Darla here. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her show, but it's a PBS show, and that is being edited currently and will be produced and aired in February. The Road Ahead initiative, which was in July of this year, took place in Ofterdingen, Germany. And you're saying, well, there isn't really a Route 66 in Ofterdingen, Germany. But the festival and the conference that was held there brought together representatives from international foreign Route 66 associations to build a Chamber of Commerce type of collaborative individuals to work with the Road Ahead initiative, which is also a World Monument funded collaborative thing going on right now with Route 66. Representatives from Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, France, and Switzerland, and the Czech Republic were there. Additionally, you'll see on that same page, there's a gentleman with a guitar, and that's a YouTube documentary that I produced. And so if you go to YouTube and enter the first European Route 66 Festival, you can see the documentary that I put on from that. So which brings me to finally the miles of possibility along Route 66. The state of Illinois, in collaboration with the World Monument Fund and for the Road to Heaven initiative, has started to produce, in 2015 was their inaugural event for the Miles of Possibility, and the conference was held in Edwardsville, Illinois. Second conference was in Bloomington just last October, and when I became aware that this was going to be an ongoing annual conference, I reached out to the state of Illinois and said I'd like to have it in Joliet in 2017. We have the dates, October 19th through the 22nd. The host hotel is going to be Harrah's, and the conferences will take place at the Joliet Historical Museum. Historical, right? Historical Museum and the Rialto Theater. We have the perfect venue, walking distance. We have a perfect campus in downtown Joliet for the conference. Everything, we can just, hopefully they'll park their car and they're going to be able to walk to the restaurants and to everything coming up. Any questions?
Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds like a great job. You did a lot of work, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're thrilled to bring the conference to Joliet, which is exciting. I want to highlight 2 other events that are coming up in 2017. In January, we'll be at the Travel Adventure Show in Rosemont, promoting Route 66 and the 90th anniversary, and giving out the packets of those postcards that you see in front of you. We have a little dice game that people will roll, and if they get 6s. And then in February, we're kicking off the first ever Joliet Area Restaurant Week. So for information on that, it's jolietrestaurantweek.com, and we'll be kicking that off in February. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, under public hearings, is the 2017 annual budgets for the City of Joliet, the Joliet Public Library, and the Foreign Fire Insurance Board. This is a public hearing, so comments are in order at this time.
Anyone like to speak on those items?
I have a question, and it may be for, excuse me, Carol Mulvihill, 1502 Woodbridge. It may be for Jim. I see that there's something on the list. It's ordinance 566-16, and you're upping the fee for fireworks. Not supposed to do fireworks to $500.
Illegal fireworks, yes.
How many a year do we have approximately of those fines?
I don't know if the chief could answer that question. No. We don't know offhand, sorry.
Well, I was just wondering if it's, a lot? Or just a few?
Significant revenues, I don't think it's significant.
Thank you.
there anyone else that would like to speak under the public hearing regarding the budgets? Seeing none, let the record show that the public hearing is closed. Next, we have citizens to be heard on agenda items. Is there anyone that would like to speak on an agenda item? Mr. Sheridan?
Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, good evening. John Sheridan. I'm glad you asked about the firework ordinance because I'm quite happy. Those that have attended the Cunningham Neighborhood Council meeting heard from our constituents, your constituents, my members, twice, 2 different meetings about the problem we have in our neighborhood. Councilwoman Quillman, I want to thank you for getting it to the legislative committee. And Chairman and Councilwoman Rook, thank you for sending it to the full council. It is a problem. The severity of fireworks has increased in the city of Joliet over a number of years. I did for you to request a number of citations that were issued at 45 for July weekend, was a long weekend. Now that's the one where a compliance ticket was issued. That's not counting the ones where there was warnings issued by the officers first. And they generally try to give you a warning, but they know the neighborhood, some of them do, and they know that there's continuous violators, and they kind of watch those houses. And if they come back and you're doing it, they're going to issue a compliance ticket. The warning's over. They gave you one warning. So with that being said, a low number of compliance tickets, but a lot of warnings were issued, and that's a low priority to do their business on top of the fireworks. So if they get time, they answer the calls. The other thing is, I was told to possibly do a survey and let people know or get the feeling of the people in the city as what their thoughts were. And I did just that. I said, you believe the city of Joliet needs to address the illegal use of fireworks in the city? 89% of the respondents said yes. And the second part of the question was, do you believe that the current fine of $150 needs to be raised to $500 or even $750 to get the violators' attention? That dropped to 83% because some felt that $150 was enough. With that being said, and then also you should be knowing that in regards to the survey results, the confidence is 90%, a 7.8% error level on 147 people, and I surveyed 111. I got 111 responses. The monkey survey is only good free to 100 people, and I'm not paying for it over that. But either way, it gives you enough confidence that if you vote this ordinance in, it is the will of the people of Joliet. As I talked to Councilman Hugg prior to coming in the meeting night, we're just BSing a little bit out there, and it's not going to fix the problem, but it's going to start to fix the problem and get people's attention that the city is serious about it, and they will, in fact, enforce the fines and make more compliance tickets to get this problem stopped, because the severity is getting up to quarter sticks of dynamite, half sticks. We're shaking houses. We're shaking windows. We're not talking about little fountains. We're not talking about sparklers. We're talking about aerial shots that go up. Most of our summers have been dry. This past year was wet. But you're sitting at home wondering if your roof's going to catch fire or whatever. No consideration for the neighbors. The next morning, I'm out running in a neighborhood. About every 6 blocks, it looks like Beirut, you know, with all the fireworks in the city street from the empty casings and the unexploded 1.25 inches laying on the street. That stuff needs to stop. It's out of hand, and I appreciate the city finally doing something about it. And this is great when the city works with the community and gets action and takes care of the problem. Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item? Seeing none, we'll pass it to the city manager to go over the agenda items.
Thank you. First item I'd like to direct your attention to is Council Memo 564, and this is regarding dangerous, exotic, and farm animals. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the city attorney, who's been much more involved in the drafting of this and the discussions at the committee level.
Thank you. So upon review, this is just to give you a little history on where this is coming from. There was, as you probably know, a pot-bellied pig was in the city, and upon looking at the city's code, it doesn't define farm animals. So the question from the person that owned it said, well, it is not a farm animal, it's a household pet, city's contention was it was a farm animal. So what this ordinance actually does is defines farm animals and includes it to be a pot-bellied pig. I'll get to that in a minute, but there'll be an exception. Another thing that the ordinance, when I was looking at this ordinance, I noted that the ordinance didn't prohibit other types of animals, dangerous animals as defined by state statute, which are not the dogs, but these are animals really innately dangerous, like lions, tigers. I mean, we don't.
Bears, oh my.
So we really don't have, there haven't been any issues, and the same with primates, chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, alligators, crocodiles. There haven't been any incidents. So rather than wait until something happens, I just thought, well, this is a good time to just put that in there too. So that also is included in the ordinance. So, okay, so to address the pot-bellied pig, so what this does is it allows an exception to farm animals within the city limits. The first exception is a farm animal that's on a farm, and that there really wasn't a true exception for that, and farm animal is 5+ acres. And then it also allows pot-bellied pigs subject to certain types of additional regulations. The first one, spayed and neutered. So we don't want breeding of pot-bellied pigs in residential homes. One of the others is tusks clipped and trimmed to prevent bodily damage from sharp tusks. Now, these aren't the types of things that they charge at you, but this is, I don't know if there's anybody else that can answer the questions in the audience maybe, but here's what I just learned is that these pot-bellied pigs rub up against you potentially, like dogs or cats, and their tusks could accidentally get you. So that's just a kind of a preventative manner. No more than one per household. They can weigh in excess of 300 pounds. And then there was something that I read about having two pigs fighting each other for who's going to be the most dominant. So I think for at least for now, we should just allow one in the city. And then there's something else I wanted to kind of touch on about aggression. And I want to compare them, I guess, to dogs. There really aren't. I tried to find some examples of, a pig that became aggressive as a manner of we have that issue with dogs, and I actually found two. So from what I found, these pot-bellied pigs are not really aggressive. They only bite if they're afraid. Their initial response is to run away. They hate confrontation. But I did find a case in 2003 where a vicious Vietnam pot-bellied pig chased someone and allegedly bit someone. And then the other one was actually in Massachusetts earlier this year, where a pot-bellied pig broke out of its pen in hot pursuit of another pig, pot-bellied pig, and the farmer tried to put it back in its cage, and it attacked him. So those are the only incidents that I could confirm of pot-bellied pigs kind of going. So actually, there have been a lot more cases involving the pot-bellied pigs being victims. So that's why I think the idea of having a fence and these other regulations are in place actually probably more to protect the pigs from these outside influences rather than the pigs getting out and running amok in the city. So that's so the confinement in the front and the fence yards, direct supervision. These are more, to protect the pigs themselves. Pot-bellied pigs have few defenses, and there have been a number of incidents where dogs have injured them. So that's the same with the leash and the collar. And then there's a clause in there about removal of the excreta, and it's a violation if it causes a smell to the neighbor. And then the last one that we have is about vaccinations and whether it is in fact a pot-bellied pig. And this would be more in response to a neighbor complaining, and then the animal controller and officer being able to go to the house and saying, hey, number one, is it a pot-bellied pig? And number two, is it vaccinated? So it allows the city to have an appropriate response to any potential claims that we have. So I got some other stuff here about pot-bellied pigs, and just one piece of advice. This isn't for me, and I don't know if it's for you, but I just wanted to mention very quickly that education is the key about whether you want to have one of these or not. They're never the size of Chihuahua. miniature pigs, 300 pounds is a miniature pig as compared to a
5-pound chihuahua.
to a
500 pounds.
to a 1,500 pound pig. So they actually, when they say miniature, that could be considered a miniature pig. So just, there's some other stories about, maybe these aren't for me because they're not, they dug up my yard and they gnawed on the couch and they did all these other things, and we thought it would be this nice little tiny pig, and it grew to this huge thing. So I guess we're talking about it, so I thought I'd put the kind of the bad side, I guess, out there to the public.
The warning.
The warning.
The public warning.
So go into this wide-eyed if you decide to get one, if that's the way that you want to go.
I want a dog.
I know. Okay, that's it. Unless there are any questions.
So you're, Marty, the second example you gave of some kind of violence,
Yes,
has something to do with a farmer interfering with his courting process?
yes.
Okay. And something tells me we're not gonna have thousands of Joliet residents looking for a pig in their house.
No, I just wanted to touch on the potential dangerous or vicious, and I just couldn't find anything like that. I mean, I did find, like I said, 2, but then if you were to type in, say, vicious dog, you'd find hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of examples.
Yes.
So I have a question. So the farmer and the pig, he obviously was not fixed, is that correct?
Yes, he was not fixed.
So our ordinance says they have to be
Yes, they
fixed.
have
So
to be
we shouldn't
fixed.
have that issue.
Probably not.
Okay.
And plus, you're only allowed 1, unless a neighbor had a female and it was a,
But she has to be fixed as well.
I'm not sure. Oh, no, I shouldn't say. I'm not sure if that would, I'm guessing that would solve the potential issue.
Moving on.
Okay.
Good idea, Jim.
I learned a lot, believe me.
Even things he didn't want to know. Council Memo 565 is an ordinance regarding the duties and responsibilities of the Inspector General. Chris Regis attended a seminar that was a countrywide training institute this year, and he learned about duties and responsibilities in various ordinances in other communities around the country. And so we're recommending a couple of amendments to the existing ordinance. And one is to ensure the proper and efficient use of public funds and for any other governmental body or charitable organizations that the city funds, that the Inspector General would have access to those organizations' records. And also duties, if there's any kind of investigation that the mayor or myself regarding an employment issue, an investigation that he could conduct and then present a report to us as well. Council Memo 566 is, as we've already spoke about a little bit, the amendment regarding the fines for fireworks. Right now, it's $150, and it's proposed to increase to $500. The next one is the agreement with the Heritage Corridor Convention Visitors Bureau. As you heard, the school competition is coming back, and what this is a multi-year agreement through 2021 with 2% increases each year. It's $50,000 for 2017. And the Heritage Corridor is our primary resource that we utilize for advertising events and activities throughout Joliet. Council Memo 569 is an annual authorization allowing the city manager to enter into a local shared agreement with PACE and to apply for grant funds as they become available under the Social Security Act. As you know, part of this is a discount rate for those that qualify, and there's a grant funding that's available from the city to subsidize some of the passengers. Annual cost is approximately $142,000 a year from the city. And that is in next year's proposed budget as well. Council Memo 570 is a agreement pertaining to city work on state highways. Normally, contractors would have to post a surety bond, but I guess they trust municipal government a little bit more. And so all we have to do is adopt this resolution, and then we don't have to post that surety bond with IDOT. Council Memo 571 is a resolution appropriating funds for Osgood Street and Second Avenue roadway improvements project. It's utilizing $19,250. Next item is an adjustment for the monthly parking rates for college and university students. We were approached by Joliet Junior College with the anticipated opening of their new culinary institute in the downtown. And then the second phase of their project is to tear down the old Sheraton Hotel that's attached there and create more parking. But they're anticipating that that'll take approximately another year. And so they were requesting a discounted rate for students. So we've proposed this discount from $40 a month to $20 a month. The college will purchase these, and they will have the students purchase them directly from them when they register for classes. Just to point out, this is a $58 million investment that the junior college has made in our downtown. And it's only a temporary situation, effective 2 years, from January 2017. Item 573 is an agreement with United Way of Will County, and this is a memorandum of understanding that spells out that United Way will set up a Joliet Disaster Relief Fund, and it establishes the parameters by way of which these funds would be spent in case of a disaster in our community. And then it has reporting requirements back to the City Council regarding the distribution of those funds and how they were spent, if, God forbid, we have to spend those funds. Item 574 is a utility drainage easement at Cadence Premier Logistics at 2050 South Chicago. And then 575 is a similar public utility drainage easement at the Amazon distribution facility next door. With that, the rest of the items on the agenda will be reviewed by Public Services Committee, but I do want to point out one item, Council Memo 596, which is an additional 3 years on our agreement with Fields Nursery on Caton Farm Road. We have a 7-year agreement, 1,000 trees a year that we're purchasing. And we did the simple math, and we're cutting down 10,000 trees and replacing them with 7,000, so we're adding 3 more years onto the program. Now, this doesn't mean that we won't do additional work. This is just allows them to purchase the trees at today's rate, and we get the benefit of that cost reduction, knowing that we are going to plant these trees in future years. So this will take us out to 2024. Again, 1,000 trees per year. And with that, I just have, unless you have questions for me, I've got a request for closed session.
Any questions? Yeah.
Just one question, Jim, kind of off the topic here, but it's with respect to the downtown TIF, that we're working on right now.
Yes.
I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to make sure, because I think there's some confusion as far as with some of the downtown businesses. But the increase is only, if those businesses are currently in the downtown TIF, they're already paying that extra $900 or $950. The only businesses that will be affected are those that are being brought into the TIF. Is that correct?
That's true.
So there's
That's
not going to
correct.
be another $950
No.
added on? Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Next, we have public comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak tonight under public comment? Sir?
It's regarding the Rialto, is that allowed?
Yes, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Tim Shanahan, 13660 West Bruns Road in Manhattan. So I know a lot of people here that I hear the audits from Manhattan and wanting to know what I would have to do about talking about in the city council and the Rialto, but I'm here because I love the Rialto like a lot of other people here, and I'm concerned about the future of the Rialto, but you know, it's tax dollars, and $500,000 is nothing to sneeze at. I certainly understand that, but to just kind of make you aware of the contribution that people from outside of Joliet that actually make to the Joliet economy. So if you take $500,000 of the grant is what they're seeking, and $150,000 population, or 150,000 population, it's about $3.33 per citizen, which on a tight budget, I certainly understand that, but when I come down to the Rialto, I use the local restaurants, whether it's Chicago Street Pub or it's Juliet's or at the Tin Roof, and I certainly pay, I don't know what the tax rate is in Joliet, 8%? Jim, is it a sales tax rate? Or whatever it is, it's 8 or 9, but I'm paying probably $5, $6, $7 each time I come down, and I come down on a regular basis. One other thing that concerned me, or one thing that concerned me at the meeting last week or last month, when one of the speakers came up, and I don't know his name, as he's up here quite a bit, but said that the restaurants don't benefit from shows at the Rialto, and that was, I didn't misunderstand that, but I was went to Ronnie Millsap concert Friday, went into Chicago Street Pub, a 7:30 concert. If you weren't at the Chicago Street Pub at 5:30, you weren't going to get a table. They turned quite a few people away. Had an opportunity to talk to one of the owners, Kathy Trisna, and Kathy told me that based on the attendance at the Rialto, they figure they get about 10% of the attendance at the Rialto at their establishment. I would assume, I didn't talk to the other restaurant owners, but I would assume that's very similar. So to say that the restaurants don't benefit is just, it's inaccurate at best. The Rialto, and I've been, obviously you've seen me up here before, but the Rialto, and one of the concerns and criticism was that there isn't a lot of shows, but, you know, I just brought the playbill from this last month. We've got a show November 23rd, we've got a show November 25th, another show the 25th, the 27th, the 1st. They're bringing back movies. They're doing a lot of things that have been requested of the city council and really of the community, and I'm a patron of the Rialto, and I like to see more activity. So, you know, we've got a new third-party management team in there. I think we would agree that we've all heard good things about them, and I just, you know, the city's supported the Rialto for 40 years. I heard $20 million mentioned, and, you know, to pull out at this particular juncture just would seem a shame when it seems like it's ready to turn the corner. And, you know, if we're sitting up here next year and nothing's changed, I won't be up here, I can tell you that. But I'm that confident that things are starting to turn around, and I would just ask you, it is a gift, and we certainly appreciate it, but it's an investment. You know, Jim just mentioned Joliet Junior spending on the campus $45 million. That's an investment in downtown Joliet. We just ask, please don't leave us at this juncture. Give us another year to see what we can do. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you.
Mr. Sheridan?
John Sheridan. Again, Land Use Legislative Committee, you had a full agenda. You guys were packed that day, And there was one other item that was brought up. Abandoned residential property registration. I commend the city for taking the first step to get something done about that. The city of Joliet has 64 square miles, and we have no clue on how many vacant or abandoned properties we have in the city of Joliet. And again, I commend the city for taking the first step. Actually, I would like to see all vacant properties and abandoned properties listed, not just the bank-owned. I believe there's a little bit of a lack of knowledge of the current city process with some of the committee members and maybe some of the council. I would like to remind the Land Use Committee that the city has already placed some municipal liens against property as they do today. In our areas, when they find a violation going on, they take care of the property. If people don't pay it, they put a lien against the property. That's going on today, so it's nothing new, folks. And if we get Alfredo 2 more people, like you suggested, I always argue for him to get more people. That would help him do what he's doing today a lot better. Homes in Joliet actually have liens against the federal government. IRS put 1 million liens out last year for back taxes. Homes that are sold on a short period of time, Will County, for back taxes. Nobody contests all that. Homeowner associations place liens against property for not paying their assessment fees, association fees. You got debt collectors putting liens on property in the city of Joliet. You've got probate court. You've got missing heirs, and the beat goes on. So again, liens are nothing new to the city of Joliet and to the property owners. So I don't think that should be a concern for the committee. Liens may hold up a sale of a home a bit, but it's not a complicated process. If you pay the lien, you get a clear title, just that simple. There's no simpler process. You owe the city $1,300, pay them. They put a memo out to the recorder of deeds, they take care of that. Traditionally, liens on any property are paid by a closing attorney who represents the seller based on the money that the buyers have purchased the property. Most of the time, people figure the cost of the lien and the total purchase price of the property. If your people are serious about buying foreclosure homes, they generally do a title search and find this information out ahead of time, in addition, even buy title insurance. I have private investors in my neighborhood that bought 2 homes, not financed. They're investors. 2 of them went defunct. City's taking care of one of the properties right now. As Councilwoman Quillman said, there are many properties that people are renting out that fit this bill. And Councilwoman Hernandez Brewer, thank you for taking care of little people. You talked about on the minutes of the meeting, you talked about the little old lady in the hospital, senior in the hospital, couldn't do anything. And she gets lien put on her property for whatever reason. Maybe, looks like it's abandoned or, with the new ordinance, or it could be that the grass needs cutting, all this good stuff. But this concern is real. I know you're genuine about that, feel that, but it's going to be less than 1% probably of those type of situations. But to address your concern, I think it's an easy fix. You can incorporate an appeal process in the ordinance that would say something like, any person aggrieved by any of the requirements of this ordinance may appeal, and then state what's going on. As far as realtors is concerned in that discussion, I was very, very surprised. I believe they have a bigger problem in the city if you don't take care of the abandoned and vacant property in the neighborhoods, that the house on that block won't sell because people won't want to buy and live next to it. And they have more homes to sell with a clear title than they do with a lien, because they were asking you, don't put a lien on it because they can't sell the property. I find that just amazing. The majority of potential buyers would not buy the home in that part of the city when they see that house next to it boarded up. So you have to ask yourself, why do they want this ordinance, not want the ordinance to help sell more homes? Is there any other conflicts? Do they own vacant, abandoned property would be a violation? I'm just asking. So no law or ordinance is perfect, but as long as the city provides an appeal process, I believe the committee should move forward with this along to the full city council so they can vote and correct this problem that has existed for a long time. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Sheridan? Can I address you for just a second, just a couple answers? All right. I appreciate everything, but I am kind of informed about some of this. I wouldn't say I know a ton, but I know a little. When it comes to the liens on the homes, I'm aware that we already do that.
Right.
The issue is we're putting more liens on the homes, right? We're having the ability to lien them. at a sooner time and do it more often, correct?
They're not registered and they're in
Yes.
violation, that would be correct.
Right. My concern is that someone like me, you mentioned the little people, well, I'm one of them. If I wanted to purchase a home and it has, I don't know, we'll say some $1,500 worth of liens on it. In order for me to purchase that home, because now it's bank owned, okay? It's not, I'm not buying it from the person. They're not going to pay the lien to be able to sell the house. They don't care.
Homeowner walked away, or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
yeah.
I have to come up with that money before I can close on that property, okay? I'll be honest, I wouldn't have it. Every dime I would have would be going towards whatever little down payment I could, and God forbid the bank allow me a smaller interest rate. I couldn't do it. But you know who could do it? An investor. Okay, an investor can. And an investor is always going to make sure that however they plan everything, they're going to make sure that they get paid. That's what it comes down to. Now, the other thing that you had mentioned was the IRS liens against people and all these, the little things. I believe that rental property has its place. I have no issue with it when it's properly maintained, when we're helping people, you know, in different housing situations. I have no problem with it. But I also think I should be able to purchase a property. Now, the IRS thing and the other liens against people you're talking about, those are against the person, not the property. The IRS cannot place a lien on your home. They can place a lien on you. Now,
They can go
whether or
get your
not,
home.
what's that?
They can go against the home. That's your property to recoup their money.
Okay. What they do is they place it against the person. It's not actually against the property. When that person goes to sell their house, or then they can recoup it. But if they walk away, then that lien is not against that property. That lien is against that person. Once the bank takes it over, that lien no longer is effective towards that property. Okay?
Right, but when the homeowner goes to sell, they're going to get their money first.
Sure, but I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the abandoned properties when the homeowner walks away. Okay? The appeal process, you mentioned that. I honestly, I think you and I could sit together. I want to fix this. I do not want to live in a city where everything is, you know, horrible. Yes. The appeal process. I understand you're saying that would be a solution for the hospital. I know my parents. God forbid something happened. They had to go into the hospital. You know, somebody had, we won't even say something horrible like a stroke, but, you know, any medical condition. My parents would be so stressed and so overwhelmed, wouldn't know what to do with themselves. If they had to go through, now after experiencing that, they have to appeal liens on their home. That's the last thing they would want to deal with. I mean, they wouldn't probably even, and my parents are not dumb people, but truly wouldn't even understand the appeal process. They'd be panicking. That's the last thing I want to do to an elderly citizen or any citizen that just had to go through a hospitalization or for whatever reason. And we do not board up houses. You said boarding them up. From what I understand, we do a very good job of making sure that they're nailed down. They don't look abandoned. We don't put boards up. We obviously keep the windows there. We may put something over it. I believe Mr. Nahorsky was telling me about it. He does a very, very good job at making sure that those houses don't look abandoned. And I believe some of the people in the neighborhood, not that it's our job, but we will keep. I don't live in a fancy street. We've had a couple houses go into foreclosure. And I know as a neighbor, if I don't like it, and I know you're this kind of neighbor too, you fix the problem as often as possible. But banks don't care about liens. They don't. The more you put on them, they're going to come in when they're ready to come in. I want to fix the problem too, but what I don't want to do is put so many liens on it that someone like myself or someone else here who doesn't make a lot of money or have a lot of savings or anything can go in there and buy that house and not have to pay $2,000, $3,000 worth of liens beforehand, because I'm not going to. I can't. An investor can. We need to have a solution that doesn't involve this. I want to fix it, but we together, and I know we can, I don't want to Band-Aid it. I want to fix it. So I really respect every bit of information you come up with. I'm sure you can come up with a better solution.
We've got boarded up neighborhoods, boarded windows in my neighborhood.
Boarded.
I've got it, boarded.
Then we need to
Boards,
address
fly
that.
boards, okay?
Because I was told that shouldn't be happening.
Bank is not in the business to own a home.
John, Councilwoman, it's not on the agenda.
Yeah, it's just public, yeah. We'll get with committee and talk,
We
because
will.
you're absolutely right.
But
We can find a
I just wanted to address
solution.
those. I don't want to leave it out there
Yeah.
and everyone's like, oh my goodness.
Those same
So-
problems exist today with the current process.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak under public comment?
Just want to remind you, Mayor, world champions, Chicago Cubs. Robert Hernandez.
All right, meeting adjourned.
I just want to say, as a lifelong resident, I'm 55, and my father before me, I want to thank the city staff, and particularly Mr. Dillon and his workers, for the fine job they did in cleaning up the snow yesterday. It was fantastic. Under your leadership, Mayor, we're moving forward. I also want to say a big thank you to the police department, who has continued to work in some of our areas of the city where there's been some increase in violence, and they've done a tremendous job. A week ago, we had a shooting at our housing authority facility on Ottawa Street, and the police officers responded well. There's issues that our staff has to address. I spent 2 days, over 7 hours walking those halls, talking to residents, going up the stairwells all the way up until 1:30 in the morning. And we have a lot of unwanted visitors who are turned away from the area shelters or who are living in the area. A lot of homeless, a lot of drug addicts, and so on and so forth. And they're coming into our building. And our staff is working on that now. They're working to increase security. But again, I wanted to thank the chief. I wanted to thank our two union presidents, Mr. Heaven and Mr. DeVito, for the fine work that our Joliet police officers are doing in addressing these issues. When a resident calls from one of our buildings, they respond and respond quickly. And from walking, some of the neighborhoods on our east side, some of the residents are very happy because they said they can look out their window and see police driving down their street. The only other thing I wanted to say is I think the proposal to increase the duties of the Inspector General is great. I sat on the Forest Park Community Center board in the 90s, along the Spanish Center board, and along with the Warren Sharp Center. And the Warren Sharp Center received $500,000. The Spanish Center received a couple $100,000. The Forest Park received $150,000. And we had to account for every, if we spent not a dime, but every penny that was spent. We had to provide a receipt to Bob Frazier, who was the budget director at that time. And we also had to allow access to any of our open or closed session minutes. So I think these added responsibilities to the Inspector General gives confidence to the taxpayers that any investment that you make into whether it's a private organization or a public entity is a wise investment, and that they're being held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, land acquisition or conveyance, pending or threatened litigation, after which the meeting will be adjourned?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded. Councilwoman Hernandez Brewer.
Aye.
Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Isn't there